That's your generator. You need a new generator. Can't fix that. Gotta put a new one in there. Just leave it sit here. I have it ready for you tomorrow.
No, we gotta have it fixed today.
Well, we can't fix it without the part, and can't get the part till tomorrow. And that'll cost you $10.
Lyman, get a man $10.
Why I always got to pay?
Here you go. Come on, let's go see Abel.
We were just talking about you, whining boy. You left out of here with that sack of money. We thought we wasn't never gonna see you no more. Boy, Willie said we wasn't gonna see you till you got broke.
Broke? What you mean broke? I got a whole pocket full of money. You wait till he come in here. I'm gonna tell him about himself.
They've been around here 3 days trying to sell them watermelons, but the truck keep breaking down.
Yeah.
He say as soon as he can get that truck empty the way he can set that piano up in there, he gonna take it out of here and go sell it.
No, shoot, Bernice ain't gonna sell that piano. And I can't understand how he don't know that.
Well, it ain't done nothing but cause trouble. She need to go ahead and get rid of it. How long you been in Kansas City?
Oh, since I left here. Yeah. Got tied up with some old gal down there. Oh. You know Cleotha passed.
Yeah, I heard that. I was sorry to hear that.
One of her friends wrote and told me by the name of Willa Dean Purder. I was down there in Kansas City. She said she know Cousin Rupert, too.
Uh-huh.
It says, Dear Whining Boy, I am writing this letter to let you know Miss Cleotha Holman passed on Saturday, the 1st of May. She departed this world in the loving arms of her sister, Miss Alberta Samuels. I know you would want to know this, and am writing as a friend of Cleotha. There have been many hardships since last you seen her, but she survived them all and to the end was a good woman whom I hope have God's grace and is in his paradise. I pray this reaches you about Cleotha, Miss Willa Dean Purder, a friend. Man, that hit me so. They was nailing her coffin shut by the time I got the letter. And that just bust me all up inside. So I said, well, let me go see family. So I stopped by here to see you and Bernice.
Cleotha always did have a nice way about it.
Oh, man, that woman was something. I used to thank the Lord. Yeah, I looked out over my life. I said, well, I had Cleotha. When it didn't look like there was nothing else for me, I said, well, thank God, at least I had that. And if ever I go anywhere in this life, I'd have known a good woman.
So, Whining Boy is a really interesting character. He is not the largest part in this play, but he is very important to us. He's also a good example of how a character can also be a symbol for certain themes in the play. And so what we have here is a traveling singer, right, that is constantly referencing money. He either is being talked about in terms of money, or he's mentioned in terms of how successful or how economically successful he is. So the economy and music and travel all kind of wrap around this one character. In fact, travel's kind of a major theme in this play, some of which the film de-emphasizes. For example, Doker, you don't know as much about him in the film as you do in the play. In the play, you know that he works as a railway cook, meaning that he goes on trains and he cooks dinner on trains. So his life is a gigantic train ride. With this scene, you've got Whining Boy who travels so often that he doesn't even have knowledge of when somebody important in his life passes away until after they've passed away. He has to find everything out after the fact. And it seems to suggest that possibly one of the reasons why he doesn't have a woman at this point in his life is that this woman, Cleotha, was his woman that he loved the most, but he couldn't stay with her possibly because of the constant travel. Maybe she didn't want to go with him. I'm not really sure, but but he travels so much that it seems to be having effects on his life in a negative way. Then, of course, you've got Boy Willie, Lyman, and Avery, who are all three characters that traveled from the South to the North. So with Avery, he's already traveled and he's kind of established himself. And then with Lyman and Boy Willie, they are in the process of traveling. So travel's a huge aspect. And that goes back to the time period. It's saying something about the Great Migration of South to North travel. But I also want to say that since this play has so many themes going all the way back to like the time of slavery, that's suggesting the uprooting and the traveling of the entire family. That people were forced to travel or to that effect. So that it is saying something about slavery as well, just by talking about travel. And of course, he's also a musician, which brings in music into this play. And even though right now they've simply mainly talked about music, it is at this point that we're going to start hearing music because Whining Boy has been placed in the story. And I do think that it's intentional that you have two guys from the family that end up showing up in town at the same time independently to kind of point out the symbolic nature of their existence. That, of course, he's here at the exact same time that Boy Willie is here. This is a play. This is not real life. It doesn't have to totally make sense. And in fact, it makes it feel a little bit like Whining Boy is here because they're talking about the piano. That he's so symbolic to music that he comes at this time to point out the symbolism. At least that's one idea.
How high you think that is? There go Avery. Look at him. Look at him. He wasn't expecting to see us.
Oh, Willie, what you doing down here?
Just stopped by to see you. Come on, take us for a ride.
I can't have no company on my job. You gonna get me fired.
Oh, you ain't gonna get fired.
Come on, Lana.
Oh, no, that rope might break. Avery, ain't you scared that rope gonna break?
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Bro, I'll be back. Wait for me.
Morning, sir.
Morning to you, Avery.
Yeah, this is nice, Avery. I can see how they give you a turkey on Thanksgiving. Woo! Ooh, it run fast, too. I ain't know it run this fast. Yeah, it's gonna be all right.
Oh, Willie, come back here.
Don't worry, I'll be back.
Boy, Willie, I'm not allowed no company on my job. I'm working. I ain't got time to talk.
Well, I just stopped by to find out the name of that man who say he wants to buy the piano. Doka say you sent him by the house.
I forgot his name. He gave Bernice a card with his name and number on it, but I believe she threw it away. That's a while back. I can't recall his name.
See you later, Avery. Come on now.
Earlier, we talked about kind of the clothes that characters wear, defining them. How Avery, by wearing a preacher's costume, defines him as a preacher. Here we see just how easy that definition can be changed by simply what outer layer of clothing you're wearing. This is the only scene in the film that was created for the film that does not appear in the play in any way, shape, or form. There are little tiny little moments, like when he's talking to the mechanic outside, about his truck that broke down. But this is the only one that's a significant scene, and I'm really glad they put this in there because I think it says this metaphor really well, that the clothes make the man. And so here we have this character who is a pillar of his community because he is a preacher, and that gives him a lot of social power in a position where he is defaced or embarrassed and is completely subservient. That this costume defines him not as a leader, but as a man it's better to be not even seen or heard. That's what kind of his job, I'm sure, wants him to be. Simply do your job. Don't make conversation. Don't attract attention to yourself. And so I wanted to at least point that out to show you that that's what's going on. And of course, this will continue to be a theme, and we will look at the times when clothes define the man.
Oh, look at here. Whining boy. What you doing here? Where you coming from? Where you been?
I've been down in Kansas City.
Hey, you remember Lima Jackson?
Yeah.
This my Uncle Whining boy.
I used to know his dad.
Hey, Doka say Bernice asked you for $3 and you got mad and left.
Oh, shoot, Bernie's trying to rule over you too much for me. That's why I left. Oh, no. That wasn't about no $3.
Hey, Doka tell you about Sutter? The ghosts of the Yellow Dog got him about 3 weeks ago. Bernice done seen his ghost and everything.
Now, how many that make? That the ghost of the Yellow Dog done got?
I don't know. Must be about 9 or 10. Hey, Bernice say she don't believe in all that about the ghosts of the Yellow Dog.
Bernice ain't got to believe it. You go down there in Sunflower County and ask them white folks, see if they believe it. I don't care if Bernice believe it or not. I done been to where the tracks of the Southern Railroad crossed the tracks of the Yellow Dog and called out the names of the ghosts. And they talk back to you, too.
Whoa. And you done been there for real, Whining boy.
1930. July 1930. I stood right there on that spot. Didn't seem like nothing was going right in my life. So I said, well, let me go down to the ghost of the Yellow Dog, call on them and see if they could help me. I went down there, stood right there on that spot, and called out their names. Called out the names of the ghosts. I didn't want to leave. And it seemed like the longer I stood there, the bigger I got. Seen the train coming, and it seemed like I got bigger than the train. Started not to move. Something told me to go ahead on and get out of the way. When I walked away from there, I was feeling like a king. Had a stroke of luck that lasts for 3 years. So, see, I don't care if Bernice believe it or not. I know, because I've been there.
Well, Bernice don't believe in nothing. She just thinks she believes.
Oh, now let's...
The idea of the crossroads has been around in literature for a really long time, going all the way back down to the ancient Greeks, where a character finds himself at a crossroads right before a big major event. And ultimately, in literature, the crossroads means that. It means a decision, a choice. Which way are you going to go? And so often we see it show up in that way. And so when we have moments like, for example, this crossroad, it's about there is no safe place to go, right? There's no options that are going to be good. The other reason that we use crossroads in literature is to do with the supernatural or ghosts crossing over from one realm into another realm. Also in crossroads kind of mythology, this is where deals with the devil or deals with the supernatural can happen. If you ever watch the show Supernatural, there's crossroad demons that show up and you make deals with them. And there's a famous story of a singer whose name is completely lost on me right now, who supposedly met the devil on the crossroads and sold his soul to the devil to give him amazing musical talent. So the crossroads is a huge part of at least folklore music stories, and it's also a huge part of literature. But it also tells you something about this story, that the ghost of the yellow dog were met at that point. He says at some point, I went to that spot, meaning there's a specific spot, which turns out to be a crossroads of two trains, because he says he hears the train coming. So we know that this is about a moment that has defined them, a choice that defined them. Now the question of what that moment was, what that choice was, that's uncertain, but you can see how this play is about a big choice, right? Do you keep the piano? Do you sell the piano? Is the big crossroads defining choice? Now, what we don't know yet is why the piano really matters, but we'll find that out by the end of this section of the film.
Not get on Bernice now. Hey, Doka tell me that you're gonna buy Sutter's land.
Mm-hmm.
How you know Sutter's brother ain't sold that land already?
He say he waiting on me.
Now you know he gonna sell that land to the first one walk up there and hand him the money.
That's just who I'm gonna be. Look, you ain't gotta know he waiting on me. I know what the man told me. The man say waiting on me, waiting on me. Doka, come on, give me a drink. I see Whining Boy got his glass. Whining Boy.
Hey, Doka tell me they had you and Lyman down in the penitentiary on Parchment Farm. Had you all down there on my old stomping ground.
Yeah, they looking for Lyman down there now. Rounded him up, put him in jail for not working.
Mm-hmm. Fined me $100. Mr. Stovall come and paid my $100. Mm-hmm. And the judge say I got to work for him to pay him back his $100. I told them I'd rather take my 30 days, but they wouldn't let me do that.
As soon as Stovall turned his back, Lyman was gone.
I told boy, well, I'm staying up here. I ain't going back with him. They treat you better up here.
I ain't worried about nobody mistreating me. They treat you like you let them treat. They mistreat me, I mistreat them right back. Ain't no difference in me and the white man.
When I tell you the difference between the colored man and the white man, the colored man can't fix nothing with the law. Now, that's the difference between the colored man and the white man.
Oh, it don't matter to me what the law say. The law liable to say anything. I take and look at it for myself.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you gonna end up back down there on the Parchment Farm.
I ain't thinking about no Parchment Farm. You liable to go back before I do.
All right.
They had Lyman down there singing Bird Up, Bird.
No, they didn't.
No,
You gonna tell that lie, boy.
Yeah, they did.
He
He
ain't
said-
never been in no
he
Parchment
said-
penitentiary.
He said, oh, Lord, bird up, bird up. Oh, Lord, girl, well, now, go ahead and marry, don't you? Wait on me, oh, go ahead and marry, don't you? Wait on me, well now, might not want you when I go free, oh, might not want you when I go free, well now, come on, Doka, Doka know this one. Oh, Lord, girl, oh, Lord, bird up, bird up. Oh, Lord, girl, raise them up, higher, let them drop on down. Oh, raise them up, higher, let them drop on down. Well, now, I'm on old Parchment, got to work Come on, play.
I want us to watch that section one more time, and what I want you to do is look out for a few things. First off, I want you to notice the different emotions that exist and how people seem to approach this song and its connection to this place that even if you do not know Parchment Farm, which, by the way, the next time we get together, you will be learning about Parchment Farm. But not only, but there's something about Parchment Farm that affects all four of these guys. Like, for example, Whining Boy says, "You've been at my old stomping ground," suggesting that he's been at Parchment Farm. The Lyman and Boy Willie say that they've been in Parchment Farm and somebody's going to go back to Parchment Farm. And then we have given a line, "Come on, Doker, you know this one. Come on, Doker, come on," which suggests that Doker also has been at Parchment Farm. And so we want to look at the emotional journey that each guy goes through, how for some people it's a joyous occasion, some people it's an embarrassment, some people it's deeply sorrowful, some people brings up images of straight up anger. So as you're watching it, look for those shifts and how it's about sort of, no matter what generation these guys are, they're all from the same source of origin. Even though it was painful, even though it was horrible at times, it's a unifying club. It's one of those things where whenever you go through great hardship, you also go through a character building aspect. When Vladek tells Art, "You don't know what true friends are until you've been stuck in a room with no food for a week," these guys understand that concept a little better than you and I might. That you don't understand someone until you've been put through true hardship. And even though they go through different versions of hardship, it's all the same hardship. They all understand the same pain. And so watch it, see what you can find.
Oh, it don't matter to me what the law say. The law liable to say anything. I take and look at it for myself.
And that's why you're going to end up back down there on the Parchment Farm.
I ain't thinking about no Parchment Farm. You liable to go back before I do.
Right.
They had Lyman down there singing "Bird Up, Bird."
No, they didn't.
No,
You going to tell that lie, boy.
Yeah, they did.
He
He
ain't
said-
never been in no Parchment
said-
Penitentiary.
He said, "Oh, Lord, bird up, bird up. Oh, Lord, girl, well, now, go ahead and marry, don't you? Wait on me, oh, go ahead and marry, don't you? Wait on me, well, now, might not want you, well, now, I go free, oh, might not want you, well, now, I go free, well, now, come on, Doga, Doga know this one, oh, Lord, girl, oh, Lord, bird up, bird up, oh, Lord, girl, raise them up, higher, let them drop on down, oh, raise them up, higher, let them drop on down, well, now, I'm on old Parchment, got down, work got it, boy. Come on, play to the piano. You play the piano. Come on, play. Lama want to hear you play.
Oh, shoot. I give that piano up.
That's a nice piano. If I knew how to play it, I would play it. Otherwise, I would sell it, because you can get a nice price for that piano.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm gonna tell you something. Now, Lyman don't know this, but I'm gonna tell you why me and Whining Boy say Bernice ain't gonna sell that piano.
She ain't got to sell it. I'm gonna sell it now. Bernice ain't got no more rights to that piano than I do.
I'm talking to the man. Now, let me talk to the man. See now, to understand why we say that, to understand about that piano, well, you got to go back to slavery time. See, our family was owned by a fella named Robert Sutter. Now, that was Sutter's grandfather. All right. The piano was owned by a fella named Joel Nolander. Now, he was one of the Nolander brothers from down in Georgia. Now, Miss Ophelia, that was Sutter's wife's name. She fancied herself a player of the piano, having taken it up when she was a little girl. Now, it was coming up on their wedding anniversary, and Sutter figured he'd get her this piano for a present. The only thing with him, Sutter ain't had no money. But he had some slaves. Told Mr. Nolander he'd give him 1.5 slaves for that piano. Mr. Nolander told him, say, okay, but he wanted to have the pick of the litter. He didn't want Sutter to give him just any old body. So Sutter lined up his slaves, and out the whole bunch, Mr. Nolander picked my grandmother Bernice. Now, that's who Bernice is named after. And he picked my daddy when he wasn't nothing but a little boy, 9 years old. So Sutter traded Mama Bernice and my daddy for that piano. And Mr. Nolander carried them down to his place in Georgia. Papa Willie Boy stayed on there at Sutter's. And he never did see his family again. Miss Ophelia was as happy as she could be playing on that piano. She would get up in the morning, get all dressed up, sit down, and play on that piano. All right. Time go long. Time go long. Miss Ophelia got to missing my grandmother. The way she would cook and clean the house and talk with her and whatnot. And she missed having my daddy around the house to fetch things for her. So she asked to see if maybe she'd trade the piano back and get her slaves back. Well, Mr. Nolander said no. A deal was a deal. Well, him and Sutter had a big falling out about it, and Miss Ophelia took sick to the bed. That's when Sutter called my granddaddy up to the house. Now, our granddaddy's name was Boy Willie. Now, that's who Boy Willie's named after. He was a worker of wood. He could make you anything you wanted out of wood.
Yeah.
So Sutter called my grandfather up to the house and told him to carve a picture of my grandmama and my daddy's picture on the piano for Miss Ophelia. And he took and carved this. See that right there? That's my grandmother Bernice. And here he put a picture of my daddy. Now, he made them up out of his memory. The only thing, he didn't stop there. He carved all this. He got a picture of his mama, Mama Esther, and his daddy, Boy Charles.
Now, that was the first Boy Charles.
Then he put here on the side all kinds of things. See that? That's when him and Mama Bernice got married. They called it jumping the broom. And here he got when my daddy was born. And he got here Mama Esther's funeral. And here he got Mr. Nolander taking Mama Bernice and my daddy away to his place down in Georgia. Now, he got all kinds of things of what happened with our family. When Sutter seen a piano with all them carvings on it, he got mad. He didn't ask for all that. When Miss Ophelia seen it, she got excited. Now she had a piano and her slaves, too. She took back to playing on it and played on it right up to the day she died. All right. Now, our brother, Boy Charles, that's Boy Willie and Bernice's daddy. Now, I'll tell you what kind of man he was. He was the oldest of us three boys. He's dead now, but he would have been 57 if he lived. He died in 1911 when he was 31 years old. Boy Charles used to talk about that piano all the time. He never could get it off his mind. Even years later, he was still talking about it. He'd be talking about taking it out of Sutter's house. Say it was the story of our whole family, and as long as the Sutters had it, they had us. Say we were still in slavery. Well, me and Whining Boy would try to talk him out of it, but it wouldn't do any good. So on the 4th of July in 1911, when the Sutter family was at the picnic that the county give every year, we went on in there with him and took that piano out of Sutter's house. Me and Whining Boy carried it over into the next county to Boy Willie's mama, Mama Ola, and her people. Now, I don't know what happened when Sutter came home and found the piano gone. But somebody went up to Boy Charles' house and set it afire. But he wasn't in there. He must have seen it coming, because he went down and caught the 357 Yellow Dog. Now, he ain't know they was gonna come down and stop the train. They stopped the train, found Boy Charles in the boxcar with 4 of them hobos. They must have got mad when they couldn't find the piano, because they set the boxcar afire. They killed everybody. Now, nobody know who done that. Some people say it was Sutter because it was his piano. Some people say it was Sheriff Carter, but don't nobody know for sure. It's about 2 months after that, Ed Saunders fell down as well. Just up and fell down as well for no reason. People say it was the ghost of those men who burnt up in the boxcar that pushed him in his well. They started calling him the ghost of the Yellow Dog. Now, that's how all that got started. And that's why we say Bernice ain't gonna sell that piano.
One thing I really like about this play is how they use different storytelling devices for different characters. By that I mean Avery, as a preacher, his dialogue is pretty minimal. He actually mainly speaks in long speeches and monologues. And they literally create sermons for him to read. So his dream sequence he looked at the last time is a sermon. It's created like a sermon with certain speech patterns that would be right for somebody trying to praise out or reach out to the Lord. And then the other version of a storyteller that we see is Doker, who is ultimately a griot. A griot is an African storyteller that is both poet and musician. And as I understand it, I'm not an expert on African storytelling, but as I understand it, a family would hire the griot to create a song about the family and about you that you could then pass on to your children, pass on to the next person in the family lineage. And so the griot had to be knowledgeable of the family history And so it also says something about older generations, that you've got the oldest generation trying to teach the youngest generation through story, which is why Doker has this long speech. Now in the film, they cut the speech up into different little sections, and they put people on stage that are playing the old man Sutter, and you can see his grandfather and his father. You can see these characters played out in front of you. But in the play, it would have just been Doker speaking for about 10 minutes straight, which is really striking in a play. Like, you can't avoid that. It comes off strange to the audience. They're like, wow, this guy just keeps on going. It's a danger of being boring on stage, which is why if I was to ever cast this show, probably the first person I'd want to cast is Doker. Because even though he's quiet and he's unassuming, this speech is critical. And his quietness, his unassumingness, his observer quality is another reason why he's a griot. He's not necessarily as involved in the story as other characters. He observes the story. He critiques and comments a little bit. But even still, I think that there are plenty of times when he says stuff like, it's not about being right or wrong. I'm just telling you what it means. And that's what a griot would do as well. He's not in the story. It's other people's story. And his job is not to glorify their story or to, destroy their lives through the story. Instead, just give the history of the family. And that's another thing that the film isn't doing as good a job as the play it's done, because you don't know this aspect. But there's one thing you should know, which is that Maritha has not been informed of the story of the piano. The story we just saw, Maritha doesn't have that information. So one of the things I want you to keep in the back of your head is when they're talking about who should get it, what should they do with it, if they keep this piano in their household and never inform Maritha the meaning of it, then it might mean that it was pointless to keep it at all.
Because her daddy died over it.
Yeah, well, that's all in the past. If my daddy had seen where he could have traded that piano in for some land of his own, it wouldn't be sitting up here now. He spent his whole life farming on somebody else's land. Doker, I ain't gonna do that. And the only thing my daddy had to give me was that piano, and he died over giving me that, and I ain't gonna let it sit up there and rot without trying to do something with it. And Doker, you know I'm right.
I ain't said nothing about who's right or who's wrong. I was just telling the man about the piano. I was telling him why we say Bernice ain't gonna sell it.
I told boy Willie ought to stay up here with me.
You stay, Lyman, all right? You stay. Stay up here and make it your own way if that's what you want to do. I'm going back and live my life the way I want to live it.
Hey, let's see what we got here. I ain't played this thing for a while.
You was playing on it the last time you come through here. We couldn't get you off of it. Go on, play something.
I'm a rambling, gambling man. I gamble in many towns. I ramble this wide world over, and I ramble this world around. I've had my ups and downs through life, the bitter times I saw. I never knew what misery was till I landed on Arkansas. When I worked 6 months for the rascal, Joe Herring was the name. When he fed the old corn dodgers, they was as hard as any rock. My tooth is all got loose, and my knees began to knock. Well, that was the kind of a hatch I got in the state of Arkansas.
that ain't Whining Boy sitting there.
Bernice!
You all had this plan. You and Boy would have had this
Oh,
plan.
Bernice, I didn't know he was gonna be here.
No.
Maurice, go upstairs and change your clothes.
Yeah.
Whining Boy, let me get ready. I'm gonna fix you something to eat.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, Lama, get up on this side of the piano and let me see something.
Boy, Willie, what you doing?
I'm seeing how heavy this piano is. Get up over there, Lama.
Go on and leave that piano alone. You ain't taking that piano out here and selling it.
1, 2, 3.
You're gonna play around with me one too many times, Boy Willie. And then God gonna bless you and West gonna dress you. Now set that piano back over there.
I need this piano to get me some money to buy Sutter's land.
Money can't buy what that piano costs. You can't sell your soul for money.
I ain't talking about selling my soul. I'm talking about trading that piece of wood for some land. Land is the only thing God ain't making no more of. You can always get you another piano.
Whining Boy, want me to fry you some pork chops?
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna tell you the way I see it now. The only thing make that piano worth something is them carvings Papa Willie Boy put on there. That was my great-granddaddy. Now, Papa Boy Charles brought that piano into the house. I'm supposed to build on what they left me. All right. If you say to me, Boy Willie, I'm using the piano, I give out lessons on it, and that helped me make my rent or whatever, then that'd be something else. But Doka say you ain't touched the piano the whole time it's been up here, so why you want to stand in my way? Now, I want to get Sutter's land with that piano, Bernice. Now, the kind of man my daddy was, he would have understood that. Now, Bernice, I'm sorry if you can't see it that way. But that's why I'm gonna take that piano out of here and I'm gonna sell it.
You ain't taking that piano out of my house. Look at that piano. Look at it! Mama Ola polished this piano with her tears for 17 years. For 17 years, she rubbed on it till her hands bled. Then she rubbed the blood in, mixed it up with the rest of the blood on it. Every day that God breathed life into her body, she rubbed and cleaned and polished and prayed over it. Play something for me, Bernice. Play something for me, Bernice. Every day. I cleaned it up for you. Play something for me, Bernice. You're always talking about your daddy, but you ain't never stopped to look at what his foolishness cost your mama. 17 years worth of cold nights in an empty bed. And for what? For a piano? For a piece of wood? To get even with somebody? I look at you, and you're all the same. You, Papa Boy Charles, Whining Boy, Doka, Crawley. You're all alike. All this thieving and killing and thieving and killing. And what did it ever lead to? More killing, more thieving. I ain't never seen it come to nothing. People getting burnt up. People getting shot. People falling down the wells. It don't never stop.
I ain't never killed nobody. Now, I can't speak for nobody else, but I ain't never killed nobody.
You kill Crawley just as sure as you pull the trigger.
And you see, that's ignorant. That's downright foolish for you to say something like that, Bernice. Crawley tried to be a big man and bully them fellas, and they cut him down. That was his own fault. It's the smart man that lives to fight another day.
Crawley ain't know you stole that wood.
Oh, we ain't stole no wood, Bernice. Me and Lyman was hauling wood for Jim Miller, keeping us a little bit on the side. We dumped that little bit off down there by the creek until we had enough to make a load.
Me and Boy Willie told him about the wood. We told him some fellas might be trying to beat us to it. He say, let me go back and get my 38 now. That's what caused all the trouble.
If Crawley ain't had that gun, he'd be alive today. He'd like to got me and Lyman killed. They shot Lyman in his stomach.
We had it about halfway loaded when they come up on us. We seen the sheriff was with him and we tried to get away. We ducked around there that bend in the creek, but they was down there too. Boy Willie say, let's give in. But Crawley pulled out his gun and started shooting, and that's when they started shooting back.
All I know is Crawley would be alive if you hadn't come up there and got him. My husband is dead and in the ground, and you still walking around here eating. That's all I know. He went off to load some wood with you, and he ain't never come back.
Bernice ain't have nothing to do with Crawley getting killed. It was his own fault.
He ain't here, is he? I said he ain't here! He ain't here! Is he?
Don't do this,
He ain't here! He ain't here, is he? He ain't here! He ain't here!
Let it go. It ain't his fault.
He ain't here, is he?
Stop it. I
He
ain't got
ain't,
nothing.
he
I told
ain't,
you I ain't responsible
he
for
ain't
Crawley.
here, is he? Is he?